Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today to see a quick demo of Migrate for Anthos. This demo shows how a multi-tier application running on VMware on-prem can be migrated and run on GKE containers. It also shows how to update an image using the created Docker file and how to deploy the updated image as part of day 2 operations. So, just a little bit of an orientation. The demo covers an application server and a database server running on VMware on-prem. We're going to migrate them to a GKE cluster where the relevant services like load balancer and the database application were moved as well. We'll extract the image, apply it to the cluster, and then we'll go through an image update using Cloud Build and apply that update using rolling upgrade to the cluster. This is the VMware deployment we have on-prem. As you can see, the application server and the database server are running two different operating systems. One SUSE Linux and the other CentOS. And for the purpose of this demo, we already migrated the Suite CRM database as a stateful set, and we'll now migrate the SUSE web and application server. First, let's look at the application running on-prem. This is an open source CRM application. It's using a LAMP stack. You can see here the application running. Now let's switch over to the Kubernetes cluster side, and here you can see the Suite CRM-DB container already running as a stateful set. We also have the load balancer set up for the application, and it will serve it once the application is executed on the cluster. Let's go and install the Migrate for Anthos software on that cluster. For that, we will use the migctl setup install command. The migctl is available on Cloud Shell, and the setup install command will connect to the cluster and apply the different solution components. You can then run migctl doctor to see that installation is complete, and in that case, it will return a check on deployment. If there are any issues, it will be shown here instead of the check on deployment. Next, we will configure the source from virtual machines that are going to be migrated, and you can configure multiple sources. In this demo, we will define the VMware on-prem as a source, so we'll configure the manager address for Migrate for Compute Engine and the cloud extension to which we want to connect to, so that we can use Migrate for Compute Engine as a transport and you can see the source as configured. Next, we'll create a migration plan. For this, we'll identify the VM we would like to migrate. This is the VM we saw on the VM side, and since it is a stateless application, we will specify an image for the intent flag and then create the migration command to ask only for image extraction. The migration plan is written into a YAML file that can be reviewed and customized. In the YAML file, you'll see the definitions for the different artifacts that are going to be generated, as well as default filters for exclusions of directories and files that are not going to be included in the image, as well as the target image names for deploying into GCR once these are built. Next, we're going to generate the artifacts. Basically feeding this migration plan into the Migrate for Anthos will execute the migration and the breakdown of these different artifacts. For this, we will use the migctl generate artifacts command. First, the migration plan is validated, and then it's applied to the cluster. The migration is applied as a CRD, so you can also use the CRD as an API to automate this migration. Then you'll use the migctl migration status to monitor the status and progress of this migration throughout its different activities. What you'll see now is that since we're communicating with the on-prem VMware system, the VMs that are still running on-prem will be picked into a snapshot, and from that we will start extracting the image. Here we can see that the image extraction applied into GCR with the image name that we configured into the migration plan. So we skipped the entire upload process to GCR. In addition, in a bucket in GCS, you will find the set of created artifacts as Dockerfile and deployment artifacts that are usable for further deployment and day 2 operations when you'd like to update this image later. To download the artifacts, you can use the migctl migration get-artifacts command with the migration name, and you can see the deployment spec that was automatically created or the image that was automatically built. And this deployment spec can be applied to this or any other cluster where you would like to run these workloads. So let's go ahead and apply the deployment so that we can see the application running. Now that the deployment is applied, it is inserted into the environment we pre-created. Just as a reminder, we have a load balancer set up, and we also have an autoscaler configured, so when this deployment goes into place, the autoscaler kicks in automatically and sets up a minimum and maximum pods, and the monitoring on the CPU metrics according to those conditions. So you can immediately see some of the Kubernetes capabilities in action. Now let's connect to the load balancer, and you can see the application running. We'll just connect to this internal load balancer, and you can see the application now running in GKE. Now that the application is running, we're switching to talk about day 2 operations. Let's say that we have a package that is a user mode package in the image, and we would like to update it. In this case, we will put the user mode package for update in the Docker file that we downloaded as part of the generate artifacts. This is, for example, an OpenSSH package. Then this Docker file can be fed into Cloud Build with a single gcloud command, and we get a new built image that includes the updated package. We're using here an update for SUSE Linux, so we're using the package manager in Zypper to update the image. We want you to see the image built. We've accelerated this process. It usually takes 12 to 13 minutes to complete, but we sped this up a bit for the sake of this demo. Now that the image is updated and built, if we go to the repository, we can see the updated image version. And we can go and perform a rolling update on the actual deployment. Remember that we have now a deployment with 3 pods running the web front end, so we're going to apply a live update. In this live update, you will see the new version being provisioned alongside the old version, and then the old version being decommissioned. During this process, the application is staying up. And you can see that here. While this process is going on, the application is still accessible, and in a few seconds, the update process will be completed. And now we can see the updated image version has been applied, and we did not have to touch any of these instances individually. That concludes our demo of Migrate for Anthos today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it, and we look forward to more demo videos in the future.